Imagine this. You're given the sequel to a video game that is completely and irrevocably cherished by its community and told that you can post 3 videos before it releases to showcase it to its fan base. Thank you, Colossal Order and Paradox Interactive, for the game key and this opportunity. Where do you even start? Do you talk about how you can spam buildings with the game still paused to open milestones quickly without any penalty because you get all the money back when you bulldoze them? Maybe you illustrate usage of the landscaping tool, demonstrating how it's free and available immediately, and how it can be used outside of the boundaries of the tiles you've purchased, essentially allowing each map to be totally customizable before you do any building. Or maybe you slow down, take a step back, and start from the beginning. There will be plenty of time for tutorials, challenges, and exploits later. Today, you can choose to introduce yourself to the City Skylines 2 community through a simple yet charming build. So, City Skylines community, my name is Toadie. This is ToadieZzz. Let's build it together, shall we? While I don't really focus on realism in my cities, I am excited to tell a bit of my story through this build. I was raised in a university town, so I'll want to spend development points in the education and research tree today. But first, I am going to end up speccing into roads far enough to unlock highways. You'll see why soon. Before we even get there though, we do need to get a basic road layout done. We have this map that we've started on has the highway entrance over here, as well as this like wee highway entrance going that way. Looking at the direction of the wind for like air pollution usage, we're going to want to do our zoned industry down at this side of at least our first kind of starting tiles. I'm going to get this kind of developed out. I actually might even just end this in a roundabout. So let's start with a small one for now. My first tip of City Skylines 2, you see how I am trying to place this kind of in the center here and it's being obnoxious? I know that it can snap to the center. I have found that playing without this option turned on, so I turn off snap to zoning cell length and it just goes much more easily to the center of roads. So I'm just going to click right from there and there is our first roundabout of the new game. That's much better. I want us to be able to export our power. That is one way that I have found making money in the early game is doable. So if you page down, we get to go underground and I'm just going to bring this really unattractively right over there. Normally after electricity, you would think to immediately go to water, but we're going to wait and see if we can unlock a couple milestones maybe before we even touch water. So let me show you how I want to get these first sections of housing laid out. To explain why I'm doing it this way first, I'm going to demonstrate how zoning is decided in this game. Here is our first road, road number 1. The zoning squares will always prefer road number 1 when you're placing kind of like normally angled roads. So you see here how these zoning squares are attached to this road, road number 1, instead of road number 2. That's generally how the game tends to work. So what I do when I'm going to be placing kind of like large swaths or so of low density residential houses, I place the kind of like alleys or the small roads that those houses are going to be on first. I think this will make sense once you have seen them all. And I love to make these not perfectly square, not perfectly gridded, and I make them probably way longer than they need to be. And then only after I've done that do I place my roads that cross along it. So I will now start doing, I'm going to use this tool and I'll start kind of connecting these up. I do think I want to reach that main road at some point, right? And then we can come along. I don't know what this area is going to look like yet. I'm trying to do this as organically and with you guys as possible sort of thing. So let's do a little bit of this. What we'll probably do is get rid of that there. Going to do the same thing down here. I've got the correct road tool selected now. And that's a really long stretch of road, right, to have all by itself. So this is where I will start to draw some more roads going in between them, and I try to make this look as organic as possible. And we are just about to reach our first milestone already, and we haven't zoned a single thing in. So I'm just going to continue this road up. I'm gonna kind of follow the river there, and we've done it. We've reached Tiny Village, which is very exciting. We have one development point that we can spend, but my friends, I would really love 2 development points to get this water treatment plant ASAP. So we need 1,750 XP. Let's finish up these roads and see where that leaves us. There are still a few more kind of bigger quote buildings that we have to place that will get us XP naturally. So let's get them down first. The landfill in the city that I lived in was along one of these like 2-lane highways just out into the boonies. So we're going to kind of consider this 2-lane road an extension of that highway, right, until we get our own highway access. Now, this is sunk into the ground. Let's do a little bit of landscaping to make that feel a bit more natural, and then draw out the area of the landfill. Out the back here, I'm going to have this road go along the river, but I'm not going to have it be like a key wall. That feels way too fancy for the type of city that I grew up in. I grew up in like a little nobody town, a little university town. So I'm just gonna have it go along the river, and it will follow up this way. Let's continue to expand this. I'm only going to have this be so big to start. We are just about ready to get started, like zoning and actually having people move into our very first City Skylines 2 city. I'm so excited, but there is more to do first. This is a great example of the zoning I was talking about earlier. If you've got a situation like this where you want this zoning to be attached to this road instead, you just have to delete the first roads that you drew in and then draw them in again, so that now the zoning is attached to this road because it feels like it's the older one. Do you have one-way roads that you want to turn around and you're used to City Skylines 1 where you right click? I'm right clicking right now, you can't tell. Instead of right clicking, you have to click and drag in the direction that you want to go. Right or left click, it doesn't matter. But I'm starting my click here and I'm dragging this way, and it changes the direction of the one-way roads. Now I do want that next unlock, so I am gonna place just a couple power plants down and we'll finish it up with a road. And there we go, small village. Let's delete these first. And look, you get the full amount back. And now we can go to our progression page and we can unlock the water treatment plant. So now we don't have to use the sewage outlets to manage our water. Instead, we can do the water treatment plant. It does create a little bit of pollution. I am going to do just a wee bit of landscaping here. That looks just awful, doesn't it? But let's put that down. The house of my childhood had a forest behind it, and we used to go and play in the forest all the time, and our dad would join us. And you know, kids play with sticks, and we would find these little sticks that are kind of like a weed and they have like a little bulb on them. I don't remember what it's called. I'm gonna find it on the Google and I'm gonna show you a picture of it. It kind of looked like a king's scepter. And so one day we were out in the woods with our dad, and one of us kids picked one, and we were like, hey, we're royalty. And so my dad turned to us and said, hail bubble on a stick. And so that was our thing then. We just said that forever, hail bubble on a stick. And it was just this little weed grass thing for the longest time, and that was like weird enough, right? But then one day we were driving down the street and we drove by like one of the water towers in this town that we lived in, and it kind of looks like it's on a stick and it's got a sphere on it, like this plant thing. And so I'm pretty sure it was me. I was looking out the window and I said, hey dad, hail bubble on a stick. And he, like, you know, we're young kids, our dad just went along with it, of course. And so now anytime me or my little brother sees a water tower in town, we'll say hail bubble on a stick, and it doesn't matter who's with us. And so we're just kind of weirdos because we see a water tower and we say hail bubble on a stick. So that is the water tower tale. Hey, we unlocked a signature building. We unlocked a rock musician mansion. A famous rock star lives in this mansion when not on tour. I think this is time for another ToadieZzz dad story. Way down the way on we have a lot of these like two-way highways happening around where I live. They go out into the boons, and way down another one of them, there is a really nice house that my dad told me stories of him partying in, because he used to party a lot, and he claims that the Beatles used to like hang out there. when they came to town. Gang, I don't know if the Beatles have ever come to town, but if they did, they've stayed at a place like this that I could point at driving to my childhood hometown. Gang, we have found my house, and there is a very specific reason for this, but we are going to take this building right here to represent the house that I first remember. I think I lived somewhere else before this, and we are going to find the resident with a pet. So we're going to come to the Mills family, who is going to be the Toad family household members. Here I can click on the person and I can rename them Toadie, and I can follow them. So that's me. I'm very sad. I'm moving in. And can we click on the pet? We can click on the pet, and we can even rename the pet. And my childhood dog's name was Chelsea. She was a Rottweiler. She was the absolute best. We can't follow the pet, which is a shame, but that's okay. The reason I've chosen this house here is these are the North American medium density row housing. And to me, what this represents for my childhood home is that I lived in what I believe we call a duplex, where it's like one physical house, but the one wall in the middle separates the two sides of it, like the two families that live in it. So visually, this isn't perfect. It does look more like a normal brick and mortar house. But before I tell you anymore, we have reached large village. Congratulations, things are looking good. We're going to focus on that in just a little bit. But first, we know where I live now. We are following Toadie, and what's going to make this even more representative of my childhood home is that we are going to take the elementary school right here, and we're going to put it right around the corner. I used to walk to school even in elementary school, and it really was right around the corner like that. I did live on a little bit more of a main type street with this split style home, so this really is almost exactly what the walk was like to my school. We've got some demand for commercial and industry, so let's get them zoned in right where we said we would. And that milestone unlocked the city economy panel for us, so we're going to go to services, and we're going to help us lose less money. So our water availability and our water treatment are both doing very well. Let's go into the services and let's incur a fee, and let's turn down the budget for this. We will also turn down the budget for garbage because we really don't need it to be quite so high, and even education, I'll scooch down a little. Electricity is fine to leave up because we are exporting so much, and that will self-adjust over time. And I'm choosing not to place a police station or a firehouse quite yet. We can import those services. We can only expand this city so much today, so I want to show you all of the things that I want to show you. So I'm gonna buy these 3 tiles, and we have a very specific story, I guess, to tell here. It's really not that big of a story. Going to get the roads laid out, let the house build in, that will become the home of the Teen Toad family. Booker Keats here is going to represent Teen Toadie. We will follow them, even though we've lost both Toadies that we've started following. I think they must have left the city, but we're doing our best here. And this represents me when I was kind of later into my years at this elementary school. We moved into like a proper single family home. I think I must have been grade, 5 or 6 or something. And then I went to high school all throughout living in this home. And my high school was through a forest, which we are hoping will grow in because you can only plant saplings in this game. You can't plant full trees. I would walk through the forest, through paths that we will put down, and I would walk down a giant hill like this, where I have actually seen buses go down this hill in the snow, and I would come to another kind of foresty area. So again, we'll tidy this up once these grow in. This is where my high school was. My schools weren't quite as glamorous as these schools are in the game. And finally, to be able to truly represent the town I grew up in, I need to head over to this education and research tab, and I need to unlock the college. I grew up in a college town, but how I'm going to spice this up a little is by telling you that I didn't go to college in the town that I grew up in. I went to college a little down the highway. So we have now unlocked highways, and we are going to take advantage of the feature in City Skylines 2 where you don't have to buy connected map tiles. We are going to purchase, let's say, these tiles here. and let me build my first interchange in City Skylines 2. Gang, what on earth? A beginner like me, like an absolute, I am awful at interchanges. You guys know this. I made this all by myself. I put Google Maps open and then I did this. And I'm sure there's a million reasons why it's not fantastic, but I think it's pretty snazzy for a first try. I'm really excited about it. And it is going to allow our citizens to get on and off the highway there so that they can come over here, and so can late teenage Toadie to go to college. When I was 16, I enrolled in a program at my school that allowed me to start an electrical apprenticeship. And I worked basically for the last year and a half of my high school in order to get like high school credits, but also start my apprenticeship. And the college that I went to was down the highway from my original town, and I stayed with my uncle in the nearby town, and it was great. And so this is that college. Also a way of me showing you, you can place most buildings before you place the road, which is really fun. And even though I'm not going to place this library yet, I'm just going to use it to see probably like where I'm going to end up putting it. I'll probably end up putting it back here. So what I'm going to do is bring our road. You can go right in front of it and it'll snap like to the building. That is what this button is. And so our college exists. For now, we are going to turn it off. Now notice the upkeep will only go from $135 a month down to $13,500 a month. So it doesn't actually cost $0. So this was probably not the best idea putting it down, but we don't have power or electricity over here. So we are going to come back and get more zoning going. Taking these next couple of minutes while our zoning grows in to use some of the road tools available to add sidewalks to some streets, grass to others, and of course trees as well. Mostly just removing the ability to park on the road, even though our citizens won't love that. We're also bleeding money a bit, so I'm going to tinker some more with the budget. I'll say don't be too worried if you're in the negative early on, but keeping it under 4 digits would be best. The bonus money you get at each milestone and subsidies really do help though, so don't stress about it too much. Because I've got the game unpaused, we are gaining passive XP, and then as I go to build this next road for some industry to grow in, now we'll do it on pause, but I'd like to showcase a bit of beautification where I can. I will say as of now, in this beta build at least, beautification and especially detailing is basically nil. There are 0 props, no rocks, and when you place trees, they place as saplings because of the forestry mechanics, so you have to wait in-game years for them to grow. But let's try to do something with this campus. For the sake of example, I am just going to unlock parking areas real quick, and while I'm at it, why don't I unlock roundabouts? And let's see what we can kind of make happen here without what you may call proper detailing assets. So we now have these parking lots that we can put in. So I'm going to put in a large parking lot there, which does give us like something to look at, I guess. And then I want to put a roundabout at the end of this road, again, just for like the sake of making something happen. I'm going to put that there just to be able to get a roundabout where I want it to be, and that's where I want it to be. So I just wanted the ending to end there, right? So trying to make what precise decisions you can. So these trees, like I mentioned, so I'm going to put this pine tree down and it just looks like that right now, right? But then after however many in-game years, it's going to grow up to be a full pine tree, like I assume like you see in this info view. So it is not what I want right now. What I believe places and stays the same are anything that's labeled as a bush. So what I think I'm going to do is take these bushes and do stuff with them. Now there are themes for the North American and European trees. However, when you watch what changes, none of it is the bush. So let's try to use this cultivated flower bush to the best of our ability. That doesn't look too bad. I don't think I'm going to put anything, well, I was just about to say I don't think I'm going to put any more in the middle, but why don't we do it? If we're going to do it, let's do it. Let's make it happen. So that looks all right. I do wish that I could put something in the middle of it. The other thing that we have fair control over is these paths. So something I would probably end up doing quite often is using them around the outside of buildings and then lining them with bushes or maybe trees. Are there any trees makes it look good as a sapling. I mean, some of them just kind of look like small trees, which I'm realizing is just exactly what they are. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a tree whose like circumference thing there is not so much different than its original footprint, so that hopefully when they grow in, they also look as good, I guess, as we're hoping that they look right now. Do I want to do them all the way around? Maybe I will just do them on the two sides. So I did 10. Let's see if we can get 10 again. We can also control the upgrades that we put on a building. If we're talking beautification only, I'm not going to put these extension wings on because you can see it removes this fountain and these props here. See the difference? So I'm going to choose not to do that, right? But what I think I will do is I will place the college library back here. I'm going to choose to put it right there. And then what we can try to combine that with is I'm thinking either a pedestrian street or an alley. Let's try a pedestrian street. I'm just going to draw it straight out. And I'm going to draw it like that. The other thing we have control over is these parks. So a campfire site doesn't make sense, and I haven't unlocked the next parks, but there is a plaza. Now these look very man-made, so placing one there makes sense. Do we have a 3-wide park? We have a 2-wide park. Oh, we have the 3-wide park here. So what is this? A dog park at a university? Sure, let's do it. And then I'm going to take this, do I want to take this road all the way around and maybe attach it here? Let's experiment together. What happens if I attach it and then end up not wanting it? Does it permanently remove those trees? It has certainly removed bushes and trees here. Let's try. They come back. That's good to know. And you know what? I don't think I will keep it. Let's just go with that for now. And then we can put some more like wild bushes out here. And maybe we choose a, I don't know, a pine tree. Oh, that looks rubbish. Let's put it in better. And we just basically have to hope that they kind of look okay when they're small as well. And then be sad that we don't have any rocks. But we should be able to get some bushes in here. These tiny bushes are pretty nice actually. And maybe we put one tree here if we can. A big spruce tree. So this spruce tree matches the ones that are in the asset. I wonder if they grow big over time. I don't know that information. Another thing we do have control over is the landscaping and how we can manipulate it to help building key walls. I am just going to kind of like tighten up or make this shoreline very exact and get rid of all this other landscaping that I had done to try to actually make it look a little bit more natural. And you can do key walls with any of the roads. We are going to focus on doing the key wall with a path, and it's the same principle. So you make it, you know, you force it to turn into one of these cut and fill walls, cut and fill paths, cut and fill roads, whatever, and then you find the spot where it thinks it's in water, but then also doesn't think that is in water. Holy smokes, I think I've done it. The way that you'll know once you start placing it is that it will only have the fencing on one side, and it's similar with roads, it'll only show like the barrier or whatever on the one side. And so I'm going to take that as a win, tidy up the landscaping around it, and really start to kind of deep dive into beautification as best we can here with the tools we have available. This ties nicely into a story I could tell about my time at college, even if it didn't happen directly there. I mentioned before that while I was going to this college, I was staying with my uncle who lived closer to it, and he has been such a wonderful influence on my life and actually started a trend with me that I've brought forward into my creative spaces and tried to make prominent. He and I were out one evening playing pool at the pub. I wasn't the best at pool, and he's a middle-aged dude who grew up in bars. Of course, he was kicking my butt. He had just given me a tip about braking, so I tried to adjust, still did poorly, but said something like, "At least I've learned what you said and can try again now." My uncle stopped dramatically, if I may add, and told me that was the first positive thing he had heard me say all night. Now, keep in mind, I was a mopey teenager here, so that's not so surprising, but it still struck me. I was having fun, out with someone I loved, living the dream of going to college for a trade while technically still in high school. But I was only really expressing complaints. I was only offering like misery to the world. Ever since then, I make a conscious effort when I can to actively acknowledge the positive things going on in my life when I can, and I encourage others to do the same in my streams and in my Discord. Sometimes these positive things are big and obvious, like, hey, I got early access to City Skylines 2 and I get to share it with you. Sometimes they're smaller, like, hey, I've thought of a neat story to tell while I decorate here. Or, you know what, gang, I got out of bed this morning and that was a success. So, hey, while I may be having a bit of difficulty here, not knowing how to detail without props, I am genuinely enjoying the challenge, at least right now, to make something out of this and come out of the other side with a beautiful campus. Out of all the videos I'm sure you've watched today on City Skylines 2, has something struck you as your favorite thing about the game? Or are you most excited to tinker with a certain mechanic? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. We also have access to the power lines that we could maybe add beside a road, if only to make the road feel like it's like a country road or going somewhere. Just one other thing that we can do to add some like visual stimulation into our cities. And I also want to show you an idea that I didn't end up going ahead with, but maybe you out there can do something with it. These bus and taxi lanes add a little bit of color into the roads, so maybe we use those purely for the color's sake of it. I can't make it make sense in my head. I also tried to like draw a road that is just the bus road alongside the other one, and I drew that all the way along, and it's maybe a little bit too much of a color addition. It's the one thing that pops. Maybe what I will do is just add it to just this side of the road. It may not make the most sense logically, but at least we're adding something to this. And finally, the last thing that I can think of we can do to make this look great is we can fuss around with the photo mode. Here's what I've put together. Don't go anywhere quite yet, but as we fly over ToadieZzz, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear my stories today and take our first proper look together into City Skylines 2. My early video plans for this game are finishing this 3-video series as sort of put together by Colossal and Paradox Interactive, providing tutorials for absolute beginners as early as I possibly can, then diving into some cheeky challenges the new game mechanics invite. If that entices you, please subscribe to the channel. Now, be sure to check out my buddy Cello's first video in City Skylines 2 next. He covers the complexity of the game and how it feels trying to play it without micromanagement. The video is on screen now. I will see you there.